So you want to build a custom gaming PC, but you have only $100. It's been done before. Can we do it again? Let's find out. All right, it's time to make another build here, and I have all these parts that were shown in one of the last two parts pickup videos. So the in-wing case, little tower, and then there's a AMD motherboard that someone sent for free. It's really old, A8. And I have the AMD RX 570 Sapphire, and then a couple of other random parts. And so the plan here was to build a really budget gaming computer to sell and then also post about it. But I ran into a problem when I was test fitting everything. I couldn't test the system because the GPU was blocking the Wi-Fi card, and I can't find my USB Wi-Fi adapter, and I don't have Ethernet where I test. So I thought, what can we do here? It sat for a couple of days, and then I figured, well, I can just put in a cheap GPU, an older one, with the Wi-Fi card so I can test it out. And then I started remembering about the $100 gaming PC challenge I posted last year. And as I was adding up the costs of the parts, I thought, yeah, that's pretty close. So let's see if we can make another $100 gaming PC. And it was really hard last time. And let's see how hard it is today and what games we can play, if at all. So also the power supply is hidden. So it is an old silver gray, kind of those older power supplies. I think it's a 400 or 450 watt, and it has the PCI connections, but you can't really see it in the case. And that was kind of the trick to make it cheaper, is to use a really cheap power supply. But let's put it together and see how it runs with some games. The gaming PC challenge only had the requirement of running Fortnite, and that setup was the second gen i7 and a GTX 960. This is a much older, slower setup, so we'll see how it does. So let's hop into Windows and check it out. Oh, look at her face. What's happening? She looks like a mutant. Oh, this took forever to load too. What's wrong? Help! I think the lowest you can go, right? Oh no, it does go lower. I thought 50 was the lowest. I don't know what would 4% look like. Let's do it just to be funny. Okay. Okay, that's I don't know what's wrong with this. This was fine yesterday. Oh, there she is. Now, a couple of things while this is loading. I would say if you're really watching this video and you intend to build a $100 gaming PC, first of all, it's not a great idea. But if you intended to do that for the specific purpose of playing Fortnite, then I would definitely go with the Office PC, because the Fortnite performance is not good this way, and the Office PC is going to give you a bigger budget for GPU, and that's really what you need in this case. This is more for somebody that wants to upgrade as they go, and not necessarily focused on Fortnite, but maybe just other old games, and have something that looks nice on your desk. This is a nice case. Oh no. Wow, look at... I can't even believe they let you do this. You can't play like this. What the...
Alrighty.
What is it?
What we should do now?
Okay, let's go back. That was horrible. Let's go 50. Settings below 10% may negatively impact. No kidding. Okay, let's... Oh, this system's being weird. Everything's really laggy. I mean, nobody's gonna play like this. We're at max FPS 67. This is... We're running about 60, 70. It was funny, the frames per second went down to 0. It said 0 for a minute. Not sure what it's doing. Okay, round 2. You're gonna love this. I was wondering why it was so slow. It was 100% CPU usage in the menu. I forgot to turn off the OBS recorder, so it was screen recording the whole time. Oh, what an idiot. Okay, let's do it again real fast. All right, here we are. A little better. So the RAM's at 7 now. CPU's still at 100, but it's not dying. 50% resolution. Let's go talk to this guy real fast. Wolverine. Okay. And we're at about 60 frames per second, which is much worse than the other system. So the CPU is just not quite handling it. I expected it to be better. So yeah, not so good for Fortnite. I think if we locked it at 60, it might be a little better. Let's try that. Or let's try, you know what, I've never tried 30 before. Pretty sure 60 is the minimum, right? I mean, you guys can tell me. This is 30 at 75% quality. Oh, that's nice and smooth. I guess 30 is not so bad, huh? No, this is the first time I've ever locked it at 30. No, I did on the... Yeah, I think on the GTX 460 I had to do 30 because it was so slow. Oh, there's a car. What's this guy doing? Oh. What was that? How do you... Oh, was that like a trap or something? So yeah, it's 30 frames per second, 75%, I guess. That's one way to die. And so here is Apex Legends. I couldn't launch Counter-Strike. I forgot I have to reinstall it because I messed that up. I'm sure it would have worked okay. I was just curious if it would even run Apex at all. It's not doing too well. It actually defaulted to 720p when I loaded it. This is 1080p. Everything's at the lowest that I could figure out. I don't play this game, so I don't know how it works, but yeah, 15 frames per second, 20. It's using 7.3 gigs of memory, processors at 95% to 100. So I guess I actually didn't even think of it. With this low end of a system, I guess you could just play in 720p. I've never actually tried that. Oh, it's up to 30 now. 35, it's getting better. Oh, what are you supposed to do with this? Well, let's just go for a walk here. Can you run? Oh, okay. Running, 35. So how much did this cost, you ask? Well, it was $100 for everything. For the most part, I'm going to break down the costs associated. They're all estimated because most of these things I had already or were free, with the exception of the case. And also I'm going to go over what other options you could get for the same price. So if you don't like numbers, you can check out now, but let's take a deeper dive into how this was put together. Okay, so here we are in Windows in this cheap computer, and let's see what we have. AMD A8 7600. Couldn't find a whole lot of information on this. It's FM2. In the motherboard BIOS setting, there was no option for overclocking. It had a multiplier thing, but it wouldn't let you change it. I think it's locked. I guess there's another version of this that you can overclock. So 4 cores, 4 threads. It has 6 G threads, which I think is for the integrated graphics. But I'm using this Ati Radeon 5670, 1 gigabyte. Really basic card. It's going to be in one of the GPU tests, episode 2 of that. It's very low end. It's single slot. There's really no heatsink. It's just kind of a little tiny card. So let's look at the costs here. Junkyard AMD version 1. And so what we did is, instead of doing the Office PC with the GPU, which is what you would normally do, we're taking the parts, the old parts that are free or cheap, and putting those into a nice case. So it's similar, but it makes it harder because now you have to buy the case. Obviously with an HP or a Dell, the case and the power supply is free, so all you have to do is get an SSD and put in whatever GPU you can afford. In this case, the budget is $100, so you would probably get like a 960 maybe, or a 750 Ti, something like that. I'm not sure what the equivalent would be on the AMD end. So here I added everything up. So the motherboard, CPU, and RAM, this could be anything. If you look around, there's tons and tons of combos like this for $25 to $30. This particular one was free, but I put 30 because that's what you would normally get. So a 2nd gen i5, maybe a 3rd gen Dell motherboard, something to that effect. Random AMD, who knows? I see those all the time, so I think that's a fair figure. The case, I spent $25. Actually, I bought it. There's a video about that. Now, here's where it gets tricky. $15 for an HD SSD, that's easy. But now you have only $35 left for the GPU and the power supply. Now, you and I both know you can get a power supply from free just about anywhere. Probably $5 at one of those recycling centers. But I put 15 in there because if you really wanted to buy one, I think that's about what you would spend. And you wouldn't even get a good one for that. That would be like something out of an old Dell or something. And so that only leaves $20 for the GPU. I did get the other day the 550 Ti for $15. There's plenty of GPUs out there for $20. But what you really would want to do is do this. 25 for the GPU, 10 for the PSU. You're still at 100. But now this would get you what I just bought the other day, a GTX 960. You could probably squeeze 350 to 400 watt power supply for $10 if you really tried hard. Again, not a nice one, something old, one of those old Cooler Masters. This is Amazon. They have Amazon has SSDs right now, 240 gig for $14. And then you probably could add a regular hard drive for free. I would, in this case, if it was only $100 total, I would just use a hard drive and not an SSD because the system's not going to be that fast anyway. And 240, if you put 3 or 4 games on there, you're going to be full, basically, right? So you kind of limited on how many games you can play unless you play a bunch of older ones. If you put in, say, a 500 gig hard drive or a 1 terabyte that you could get for $10 or $15, you could put a bunch of games on there and have a good time. So that's your choice. Most people would say SSD. I would say HDD. So now we have a nicer GPU than what's in here now. And the only reason that this card is in here is because there was no space. I had to put my Wi-Fi card in the second slot, and there's only 2 slots. So the bigger card won't fit with my Wi-Fi to be able to try the games out. Then a case, so $25 for something nice. Let's say with a glass side panel like this one. And then let's say this would be a Core i5 2nd gen or AMD, in this case A8. I have also the AMD A6 where I bought the case, motherboard, power supply, and the memory all together for $20. The only thing is the case sucks, so you would just have to buy a new case. But that would fit this as well. But the AMD A6, I haven't really tested that one out. I wanted to try the A8 because it's at least a little better than the A6. And I've already done Core i5 several times. So this was just out of curiosity. I wanted to test the motherboard anyway because I've never used an AMD A8. Anyway, the performance of this is at 600 is right around close to a 1st gen i7. I think those get 700 or so. Or maybe it would be closer to a 1st gen i5. But that's about what you'd expect. It's not great. So, yeah, but here's the thing. The point of this is, at any given time, you could upgrade the motherboard, CPU, and RAM to, let's say, a 6th gen, and you still have your 960, you still have your power supply, you still have a nice case. Then you could upgrade this to a 1660 later. So it's just letting you upgrade. You can plug and play all kinds of things in here. And that's the advantage of having a custom PC versus a Dell or an HP. Space is also a concern because the office PCs, the mid towers, a lot of them have hard drive cages that get in the way. And if you were to get a deal on a bigger graphics card, it might not fit. Also, the power supply might have proprietary connections, so that makes that hard to upgrade. By taking care of all of this now, you save yourself trouble in the future. Also, you're asking, well, what about those ketchup and mustard cables? I mean, really, nobody cares. Let's be honest. The only people that care are people that comment on YouTube. If the power supply is 450 watt, it's 450 watt. The color really doesn't matter. And this isn't a beauty contest, so you want to upgrade at some point, but it's not that big of a deal. If you want to paint them black, nobody will know the difference. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let me know what you think and what you would do with $100. We'll see you soon.